Happy Monday. On this episode of Out of the Groove, Martin Truex Jr. conquers Darlington, Happy Harvick isn't so happy, and we take a look at that truck race. Hi everybody, I'm Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Last night was the throwback race at Darlington, one of the largest and most drawn out marketing schemes in the history of NASCAR. Shameless marketing. Martin Truex Jr. captured his second win of the season to give him a couple more bonus points heading into the chase. It was Truex's first win since the Coke 600 earlier this year, so he's definitely made a name for himself winning some big races this season. Now, he was not the dominant car the entirety of the night by any means, but I'll get to that in a minute, but he definitely seemed to have the strongest car in the last run and was able to drive away from the pack and win the Southern 500. A race that I feel like is often overlooked when talking about the crown jewels of NASCAR. When people think of NASCAR, they think of the Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400, or even the Coke 600. And you know, like Bristol, Martinsville, some tracks like that. Pretty famous as well. But I feel like a lot of people overlook how important Darlington is to many NASCAR drivers and fans. There's a reason that they have the throwback weekend at Darlington, because it's just historic. Known for a lot of tight finishes, being very hard on drivers, and it's just been around for a really long time. So many of the sports greats have driven at this track, and if you look at the all-time Darlington wins list, almost everyone on that list is someone in the Hall of Fame, so it definitely deserves the title of being one of the most famous tracks in NASCAR. You could just tell last night. You could tell how much that win meant to Martin Truex. I mean, he's already in the chase, he's got a handful of wins already in his career, but you could tell that win was very special to him, almost as special probably as Larson's win was at Michigan last week. And he's not alone. It was a huge deal in 2011 when Regan Smith won the race, not only because it was his first career win, but to get it at such a historic track was clearly a career-defining moment for that guy. Or even Matt Kenseth when he won in 2013. I mean, the guy's a champion, he's won dozens of races. But even when you ask him today, Matt Kenseth would tell you that that Darlington win might even have been more special to him than his Daytona 500 wins. As historic as tracks like Daytona or Indianapolis are, Darlington was one of the first quintessential NASCAR tracks. So of course it means a lot to these drivers to get a win at that place. And last night's race was a perfect example of why Pocono should not have two races on the schedule and we should give Darlington another one. We don't need a bunch of throwback weekends, but we should just have another race weekend at Darlington sometime in the summer. Last night's race was a great race in my opinion, had a good mix of cautions, had a good mix of personal drama, had good racing for the lead most of the night, had a lot of shuffles in the top 10, a little bit of pit strategy here and there. It was a pretty good all-around NASCAR race. And it's just another reason to me that I think Darlington is somewhat underrated. I think that would be a really cool track to go see a race at someday. I have to buy plane tickets. So while Martin Truex Jr. was celebrating his win in Victory Lane, Kevin Harvick was celebrating yet another second place finish. Last night was Kevin Harvick's 23rd second place finish since he got to Stewart-Haas Racing. 23! You think about it. Harvick's been with Stewart-Haas Racing now for what, like 2.5 years? And so that's like what, maybe 90, maybe 100 races total? And in like a fourth of them, he's got second place finishes. Second, that's such a specific number. That honestly should be rewarded in my opinion. But don't tell Harvick that. As he rightfully should be, Kevin Harvick is clearly very bitter about continually finishing second. And a lot of that has to do with his pit crew, which once again came into play last night. Kevin Harvick's pit crew, basically since he got to Stewart-Haas Racing, has been considerably below average compared to most others. Even the year he won the championship, they made a lot of changes that season in anticipation of the chase because they knew they had one of the best cars, but they did not want their pit crew screwing it up. And Happy Harvick, as I don't really know why he's called Happy. It feels like Kevin Harvick's always, you know, aggravated with someone or something. He's always given his pit crew grief over the radio and whatnot, which, you know, I feel he's right to do so at times, but at the same time, it's, you know, it's a team effort and he's kind of out of his zone here. So last night was another example of Kevin Harvick's pit crew constantly putting his team behind despite having probably the best car most of the night. Most notably, with less than 100 laps to go, Kevin Harvick went from leading, and then when everyone went to pit road, a gun malfunctioned, and Harvick ultimately ended up losing 12 spots on pit road. And he was mad, as he should be, I guess. But in this case, Kevin, you know, lay off just a little bit. I mean, the guys had a air gun thing break, so it wasn't entirely their fault. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but you know, wasn't necessarily a human's fault. And ultimately, you still had a chance to win the race. But on that last run, your car just wasn't as good as Martin Truex Jr.'s. So ultimately, I think you finished where you deserved. I mean, sure, it was probably a lot more difficult to finish second than if you just, you know, had a good pit stop. But in the end, I think the best car at the end of the race won. And I think the second best car finished second. It still baffles me how many second place finishes a guy can get. I mean, he might have to go to therapy or something. Think about that, like just how close. Like, how do you cope with that? Coming this close to winning so many times, never quite getting there. You feel like that would get to you at some point. Maybe that's why they call him Happy, because he's slightly insane. Speculation, yeah. Anyway, the last thing I really want to talk about, and I feel like it has to be addressed, even though this is a show that 99% specifically talks about the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Sunday afternoon's truck race at Canadian Motorsports Park ended with John Hunter Nemechek and Cole Custer battling for the lead around the final 2 turns. Now, I did not watch the whole race. I actually tuned in with 2 laps to go. I didn't even know there was a truck race on, to be 100% honest. But boy, was I glad I tuned in. Coming around the final turn, Nemechek, who already has a win and is technically already locked into the Truck Series version of the chase, got into the back of Cole Custer, who is currently not in the chase and does not have any wins, and almost spun him out. Now, that was all fine and dandy. You know, give him a bump and run, you know, race to the line, that's cool. Until Nemechek then wiggled big time, doored Custer, and basically drove him off the track into the grass and then into the wall, where the two of them basically, old Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch style, grinded to the line, where Nemechek ultimately won the race by about a foot. And the NASCAR world went wild. I mean, it was a great finish, don't get me wrong. That is a historic finish for the Truck Series. But the wrong guy won, and everyone knows it. Even Nemechek probably knows it. Like I said, I did not watch much of the race, but from what I heard, Custer seemed to have the best car most of the night. He'd held off Nemechek on some other restarts. He really seemed to have earned that first place spot. So NASCAR actually had to wait a little while before announcing the winner, because they weren't exactly sure how it would be ruled. I mean, the cars weren't even on the racing surface when they crossed the line. Ultimately, they gave the win to John Hunter Nemechek, who was clearly the first one to cross the line. But Cole Custer was not happy about that. After John Hunter Nemechek prematurely did some burnouts, he got out of his car to go collect the checkered flag, as most people do when they win a race, only to turn and see Cole Custer sprinting right towards him down the front straightaway, and Custer hits him with a flying tackle, just knocks him straight to the ground. It was like on a punt return where when the kick returner doesn't wait for a fair catch, catches the ball and immediately gets just nailed. That's exactly what it looked like. Crews and officials quickly separated the two, so nothing else happened, so Custer got the only lick in, so win there, Cole Custer. After the race, they both gave their sides. Nemechek seemed clueless. Custer was obviously not happy. And most of the drama basically ended there, for now. Now, I don't keep up with the Truck Series too much, but you know, the chase is starting, and if Custer doesn't make it in, Nemechek, you might get Logano'd, as I call it. You take somebody out, you run the risk of getting yourself taken out. And I personally believe Custer has an even better reason to take out Nemechek than Kenseth did Logano. So Lord only knows what's gonna happen. I might actually tune into the next handful of truck races just to see what possibly comes out of this. And that's about it for our show. The last thing I want to hit on is Dale Earnhardt Jr. announced on Friday that he will be missing the remainder of the Sprint Cup Series season with his concussion-like symptoms. Just wanted to give my quick take. Obviously, this is a very negative thing, very bad thing for the sport. Everyone was hoping Junior would be able to get back in the car, at least to run some races for the fans, for the sponsors, for everyone. I mean, Dale Jr., obviously the most popular driver in NASCAR. Everyone wants to see him succeed and be okay. But obviously, I think this choice is probably best for his health, and hopefully it means he'll be ready to go full-time at the beginning of 2017, where he can hopefully compete for a NASCAR championship. And it really sucks for Dale Jr., because obviously he's getting later in his career. He's not, about to retire, but, you know, he can't have more than a few years left. I mean, you got Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon already retiring, already out. It really sucks to see Dale Jr. have these types of problems so late in his career, and still, when I believe he's at his prime, is still in championship contending form. Really is unfortunate. But hopefully he's doing all the right things to get himself back out there for next season and beyond. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you all so much for watching. My next episode will be up Friday. I'll be talking about the upcoming Richmond race, giving you guys my predictions about who I think will be in and out of the chase, the people on that bubble right there. And that's about it for this show. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'm looking around right now. I don't know why I'm looking around my room. There's nothing here. So thank you all for watching once again. I'll see y'all on Friday.